Okay. So once again, good morning. If you're just joining us, you're welcome to Women's Hour. Today we're looking at living without stress. Living without stress. But what is stress? So let's look at a definition here. Stress is simply the reaction people have to excessive pressure or pressures or other types of demand placed upon them. It arises due to a worry that one cannot cope. Stress arises due to a worry that one cannot cope. You know, when you feel burdened, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel tired, when you feel emotionally drained, when you feel physically drained, you know, we're talking about stress. So it's the reaction people have to excessive pressures or other types of demand placed upon them. Now, it is the wear and tear of the mind and body as we attempt to cope with our continually changing environment. It's the wear and tear. So just like maybe you have a car or you have an appliance, it's the wear and tear. But for us now, it's the wear and tear of the mind and the body as we attempt to cope. Now, if you go back to the definition, stress arises due to a worry that one cannot cope. So if you now link it to it being the wear and tear of the mind and body as we attempt to cope with our continually changing environment, then you can see, and if you look at my picture at the bottom, the stress meter, you know, before one gets into panic attack, can you see anxiety, stressed, and then coping and being relaxed? So you can see that these things do happen. Can I just say again at this point that stress depends on your personality. Stress depends on your personality, because what somebody would find stressful, another person would just think nothing of it. Okay? You don't need to blame yourself. You don't need to guilt trip yourself. It is just, how am I going to manage this stress? So let's look at sources of stress. I've put them into two categories that, you know, you can have it from work or you can have it from life. So let's look at work. I'm just going to go through all this. You know, they're very, very self-explanatory. So work, a source of stress can be low pay, unreasonable workload, commuting. You know, if you've got to travel so many hours to get to work, that can be stressful. Maybe the people you work with, your co-workers, your boss, maybe there's a bit of bullying going on. Maybe the nature of your job, maybe career progression or the lack of career progression, that can be a source of stress at work. Now, what about, let's bring it to life? So a family breakup, obviously we all know that this can be very stressful. Death in the family, a divorce, promotion. Promotion is meant to be a positive thing, but believe you me, it can also be a source of stress. Okay? Marriage. You need to know how you are responding to your marriage. What are you doing? How are you doing the things you're doing? Moving house could be a source of stress. So take things easy, do things gradually. Don't just, you know, think I have to get it done. Well, I should have had it done, you know, 2 years ago. No, you are here now. Take things easy. If you need help, remember, ask for help. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. I always say that. Okay. So we've got financial pressure. It's not adding up. The money coming in and the money going out. The balance is, can you see, as on that picture, this balance is not balancing. It's tilting more to one side. Illness, you know, illness in the family or, you know, individual illnesses can be a source of stress. You know, having a new baby. Now, some of these things, excuse me, some of these things are positive things. And then the question you're asking is, but why are they bringing stress? The birth of a baby, that, you know, shows you how things can just quickly change in the home. And then the loss of a job. So we said promotion can be a source of stress. We said, you know, the nature of the job you're doing, career progression. Now the loss of a job. There's no money coming in. There's a lot of pressure. How are you coping? How are you coping? So stress feelings. What are some of the feelings that, you know, we associate with when we are stressed? What are some of the feelings that we associate with when we are stressed? One, you know, this is not endless. Worry. You're upset. Maybe something somebody would generally say to you that would make you laugh. You're not in the mood. You're stressed. You're upset. It's not funny. You're irritable. You know, these are the times when When the children do something that they have always been doing, you just find yourself screaming and shouting and, please calm down. Remember the advice at the beginning. Remember, stay calm. Don't stress. Okay? Anger, difficulty sleeping. Some people even find themselves frightened, tired. We had that at the beginning as well. When you have headaches that you don't know where it is coming from, you have used paracetamol or, whatever painkiller you have in your local country, you have used them, and this headache is not shifting. Why not ask yourself a deeper question? Is there something that is making me have these headaches that has refused to shift? And then, by the time you look at it, getting depressed. So you don't want all this. So I have put these feelings out there so that if and when these things begin to happen, you know exactly what to do. You know exactly what you're going through. What are the triggers of this stress? What am I going to do about this stress as well? Okay? So stress factors, they can be internal, i.e. factors that affect from within you, or they can be external, factors that affect from outside you. You don't have any control about what is happening outside you. Say, for example, you were on your way to work, you're commuting, and your tire, suddenly pops. Whew, you've got a meeting to attend. So all these things are just, it's almost like it's negating your regular flow to work. You don't have any control about it. Just do what you can do, sort out what you can sort out, and let life continue. Let life continue. All right? So let's look at, some of these stress factors, the internal, the external. Lifestyle choices, negative attitudes, nutritional status, your thoughts. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. The memory. What sort of memories do you have? When we started, I said, please laugh. It is good to laugh. What memory do you have? Some people just have one negative memory after the other. They have, a truckload. They can just pull negative memories from here, there, and everywhere. Imaginations. So some of these things are not even real. You just sat there imagining them. Emotional well-being. How is your emotional well-being? Your overall health and fitness levels, how are they? Feelings of anger and worry. Now, these ones now, I've put them under the internal, because these are things that they're from within. And then the external, we've got the noise, we've got light or lack of light. We're fortunate to be in a country where we have 24 hours regular power supply. In some countries, they don't. And you've gone out all day, you've come back to lack of light. You want to cook, you're struggling to cook, you're thinking, how am I going to iron, our uniforms and our clothes for the next day? All these things, but then you don't have control over it, except obviously you have a source of light. The heat, the cold, confined spaces, pollution, injury, trauma. We can keep going on and on about all these stress factors, but these are just, for you to have an idea of what we're talking about when we're talking about internal and external stress factors. So, moving on. Types of stress. Negative stress, positive stress. I said this at the beginning that, we have the negative, we have the positive. Now, the negative stress is just excessive and prolonged, unrelieved stress, and it can have adverse effect on our physical, our mental, our spiritual, our emotional, and our financial health. So it's very, very important that we work against having negative stress. It's very, very important. How are you looking after yourself physically? How are you looking after yourself mentally? How are you looking after yourself spiritually? How are you looking after yourself emotionally? How are you looking after yourself financially? Are you buying things you cannot afford? We were learning on Sunday in our church, about compulsive spenders and buyers, and you just go to the market, you did not plan to buy, before you know, you are buying. You're buying on impulse. Did you plan it? Or some people just think, you know what, I'm just going to go out there and spend. You're spending money you don't have? Think about it. Think about it. And then, the positive. This provides motivation and stimulation to cope with challenging situations. If you want to go higher in life, the higher you go, the more responsibilities you have. So you can say, oh, I got a promotion, but with this promotion, I've been quite stressed. Now, we're not talking about the negative stress. We're talking about the positive. But what does that keep you, what does that do to you? It keeps you motivated. It stimulates you to be able to cope. Maybe as a student, you're going into final year and the workload, the demand is more than it was in your first and your second year. But what are you saying to yourself? I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. It provides that alertness needed when faced with threatening situations. If you don't do it, obviously, there's going to be failure if you're a student. If you don't do it, maybe as an employee, you're going to get queried. You don't want that. So what do? It motivates you. It stimulates you from within. That you know what? I have taken on board this responsibility. I know it is great, but I'm going to do it. So positive stress. So we've looked at negative stress, we've looked at positive stress. And like I said, we're looking at how to live without negative stress. Okay? So let's look at practical ways that we can distress, as it were. Practical ways of, getting rid of stress, limiting stress, practical ways of reducing stress. Go for a walk. Just, go and get some fresh air. Go for a walk. If you like jogging, go for a jog. Maybe you don't like walking. Go for, run a bath. Play some nice music. Or maybe you want to listen to a message. Whatever you want to do, just have that me time. When was the last time you had a me time? For some people, especially maybe if you've got young children, your me time might just be when you're in the loo. The door is locked, or at least it's shut, and you're there on your own. You can have a bit of me time. Or maybe as you're having a bath or you're having a shower, all those shower moments. We talk about shower moments. When ideas just flow when you're having that shower. That's, what we're talking about. So when was the last time an idea came? You were creative, you were innovative in your thinking. Go for a swim. If you know how to swim, go ahead, go for a swim. Get somebody, oh, hello, whoever your friend is, ask them, can we just go for a swim? You don't necessarily even need to know how to swim. Let's just go and have some hydrotherapy. Have a proper laugh. That's where I started off, at the beginning. Have a proper laugh. When was the last time you had a proper laugh that you were crying? Not crying out of pain or out of bitterness, but you just had a proper laugh. You're not those when you're laughing, your sides are aching and you're like, oh, stop it. You're reducing stress. Or do a form of exercise. Whatever catches your fancy, whatever you like doing, please just go ahead and do it. But know what you're doing so that you don't go and pull your back or, do something funny. Do a form of exercise. Draw up a plan of action. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? When do I want to get it done? Draw up a plan of action. Learn to organize and manage your time. Sometimes the things that cause stress for us is not knowing how to organize and manage our time. We all have 24 hours allocated to us. But how I choose to spend my 24 hours is going to be different to how you choose to spend your 24 hours. How are you spending your time? If you sit down on social media, when you have constructive and better things to do, you're still going to have to pay back that time. So don't waste your time. And if you can feel, I've given us all those stress feelings. If you feel, oh God, I think I'm getting stressed now, why not just try some breathing exercise? Breathe in and out. And just try that a couple of times. Just try that a couple of times. Maybe you're trying to get angry. Why do you need to get angry? You can manage your emotions. You don't need to get angry. Just know that, okay, anger is coming, but I'm going to shift it to one side because I don't want it. Okay? Develop self-awareness to be able to improve yourself. So develop self-awareness to improve self-management. Are you aware? Some people might be morning people. If you go and join their club and you're a night person, you are not aware. So how are you managing yourself? If somebody is a night person and you're a morning person and you go and join their group, you can see that you're going to be in trouble. So you need to develop self-awareness first so that you can improve yourself. And please learn to say no. Saying no is not a sin. I'm very sorry, I cannot. No. Capital N-O. Just, so that you can help yourself to reduce your stress. And I've said another one, do not be a slave to technology. It has been there, it will be there, it will always be there. You have something to do. Don't sit on technology and just be a slave to it. No. And be very careful. Negativity on social media can be contagious. Don't believe everything you see, you read, you hear on social media. Don't harm yourself that way. Negativity abounds on social media. So please safeguard yourself. Safeguard yourself. AI, they've used AI to do something and you're busy thinking, this my mate have gone far. It's AI. Why do you want to harm yourself? You're just stressed unnecessarily. It's just all in your imagination. Don't do that. And again, let me just say, your stress level will differ based on your personality and how you respond to situations. What do I mean by that? So both of us can be traveling now and we got to the airport. Maybe there was traffic or there was something on the motorway and we got there and the flight has gone. Now, I can decide that's okay. They've scheduled us on the next one, which is going to be in a couple of hours. I can decide to pick up a book. I can decide to read a book. I can decide to, do a tour of the airport that, well, I'm here now, I'm here. And then you are thinking, oh my goodness. And then stress level just keeps increasing. It keeps increasing. They're not going to shift your flight time. Your flight time is at that time that they have allocated. So why not just look for something good? Why not just change the whole situation? Why not look for something positive about the situation instead of getting yourself all stressed out? So please remember, it is not necessary to be negatively stressed. So this negative stress now, we're giving it a kick. And I've said there, act now. Action changes things. ACT, act. So act now. Action changes things. What are some of the things you're going to go away from here and go and start doing practically? What are they? What are some of the things? Or are you just going to leave it to chance? If it's going to happen, it will happen. If it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. Please don't live your life based on chance. Don't. Act now. You know what? I know that when XYZ happens, it irritates me. So how I'm going to avoid XYZ thing happening? Act now. You know what? I know that whatever it is, we're all different. And like I said, based on our personality and how we respond, all these things, we're all different and we all respond differently. But the most important thing is, what action are you taking as an individual to make sure that you are living without negative stress? And then finally, I started off with that scripture and I'm finishing with the scripture. If you are tired from carrying heavy burdens, come to me and I will give you rest. And I pray that this will indeed